Good afternoon. My name is Peter Martinez. I'm the Executive Director of the Secure World Foundation, and it's my great pleasure to be your moderator for this final session of the day. The session is going to be a bit different from the preceding sessions. As you know, industry is a major actor in the space arena, but we don't often get to hear directly from industry in the UN First and Fourth Committee multilateral fora that discuss space activities. Partly, this reflects the historical fact that in the early days of the space age, when the current legal order and multilateral fora were established, the dominant space actors were states and their national entities. Today, the situation is different, and the private sector is leading in many areas of innovation in space capabilities, including the development of technological capabilities to support space sustainability. One of the major challenges that we face is the growing congestion in space from active satellites and debris objects. Several studies have shown that we will need to become much better about post-mission disposal of satellites, and indeed to start thinking seriously about removing large legacy objects that pose collision or fragmentation risks. However, before we can do that, we have to develop the technological means to rendezvous with an uncooperative object in space that was not designed for docking with another space object, and then to capture it in order to move it to a disposal orbit. So today, we would like to give you a glimpse of the sorts of capabilities that are being developed in the commercial sector in this regard. ClearSpace is a Swiss-based space technology company that was founded in 2018 and is dedicated to making space operations more sustainable, and is a pioneer in active debris removal and in on-orbit servicing. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Kees van der Pols, who is the head of product and mission operations at ClearSpace. Mr. van der Pols has nearly 2 decades of spacecraft operations experience and also experience in Earth observation missions. And in this session, we will hear from him about the challenges of rendezvousing with and capturing non-cooperative objects in orbit, and some of ClearSpace's missions to test and demonstrate such capabilities. So welcome, Kees. We're looking forward to your presentation. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for the introduction. And it's a great pleasure to be here to address you and to build that bridge from industry to the community where decisions are made, regulations are created, and we'd like to be part of this. We are already in a way, but it's great to be in the room and to get some time with you in order to talk about technology. This will not be a pitch in any way about the company. This is really about the tech. So let me introduce the company to you in a way that it sparks the inspiration of how we got there. Officially, the company was founded in 2018, but by no means that was a start. Imagine launching a CubeSat in 2009 and flying straight into a cloud of debris that was created earlier that year. This caused a surge in Switzerland at EPFL of an interested flock of people that said, space sustainability is the thing we need to work on right now. And they have ever since. Out of that wave of advancements and research, a company was born. I joined that company in 2020, and I'm working with a lot of excitement every day to achieve our goals. So I will tell you a few things about the technology that we use and the objectives that we have, and how to bring it close to home and to have like a real life, everyday example of applying the things that we talked about here and in other places where we think about sustainable use of outer space. In order to show the timeline ahead or the roadmap we have in front of us, I can do this explaining the 3 key missions we work on today. There's a clear progress being made from left to right on this view. I hope you see, you don't see the presentation, in fact, but I see it here, so I think it's online. All right. So we were working on a mission to dispose of a defunct object by mission ClearSpace 1. This is a capture and dispose as a combined stack into the atmosphere. Natural progress of that will cause us to work on the follow-up mission, which is a capture and release and repeat. Thanks very much. So out of that, the technology created is being used and applied to the missions that come next. Think about extending life of objects that are out of fuel. If they run quite well, why not do that? So think about dispose, capture, release, and repeat, followed by life extension, both in low Earth orbit and in GEO. The technology, finally. The technology with which we do that, we must be able to approach an uncooperative object in space. And we do this by means of an autonomous control loop on board, where the system itself needs to detect the object, identify features on it, and with that, determine what's the state of this object, what's its pose, can we approach it, and from which angle. An autonomous control loop on board will determine the trajectory to be followed in order to approach this object safely and securely. I say securely on purpose because that's why we're here in this conference, but also because this autonomous control loop on board is not only quite cool to look at, but also takes out of the loop the ground threat vector of people wanting to deal with this system externally, right? So we take that out of the loop. This is an autonomous system on board that can do decision-making in a constrained form. Earlier today, I heard this was called weak AI, but it's rather powerful, I must say. On to testing. Once we are there and we've safely approached that object, we're ready to do the capture of it. But there's a lot of testing that we need to do before we reach our goals in assessing if the technology that we develop can do the trick. I brought the elements that you see on the screen with us here today, and they're in the room. In fact, this is a two-dimensional test where we try to identify how dynamically this object will move inside of the cage that we form around it. And what can we do in order to make that hold more secure? Because we will fly into the atmosphere with this. It must be a secured stack. So you see here the effect of call it an air hockey floor, where you have almost no friction at all, and you see how the object will react to impacted by the capture system that you see right beside me. From then on, it's time for 3D testing. We need to do 3D tests as well. Can we scale this? Can we connect to different size and shape of objects? And how would that hold look like? We continuously push ourselves and the boundaries of what we can do. The technology will keep on progressing towards offering services in orbit, which are not just disposal, not just inspection, but rather also manipulation of some kind. In order to do that, a simple manipulation or a more complex one, you need robotic mechanisms, arms that can do more things with more fine-tuned touch. We built a robotic arm in order to do that, to be on the roadmap towards that. This is a service. This will allow a service that will bring us the opportunity to offer repair in space. The robotic arm that you see here plays a big role in that. Since I know we're at the end of the day, and this is one of the rare opportunities for me to put on a tie as an engineer, here I am, but I want to give also the floor back to you and end the presentation this way, and maybe we converse a little bit about some questions together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Kees, for your interesting presentation, and thank you for finishing within the time. So we actually have time for one question, if there's a question from the floor. Yes, I see. Mr. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you so much for joining us and bringing a piece of the tech into the room. I think it's symbolic of you joining us here today as an engineer, an engineer who maybe doesn't feel the same limitations on your speech that a trained diplomat might. And so I might take advantage of that and ask you a question about what you said regarding the safe and secure operations of your company. What mechanisms did your company most listen to regarding the security implications of your technology? What was an effective communication, probably originating from our community in this room, that made you and your colleagues think about technical solutions to those concerns? And I have to admit, the way you brought up those concerns was kind of speaking around what they really were. And you, like, what are the security implications of this technology? And jumped right to your technical solutions for how to overcome them. So I'm curious, what are the right ways for those of us in the room to talk to the technical developers of these technologies? What really worked for you and your colleagues? And then another opportunity to tell us more about those challenges that you faced.
The question there. I consider myself trained to answer the question properly in a way that it provides you the response that you're looking for. We want to be and have been inspired by being part of forums like this on how to solve this issue. Regarding security itself, we feel we can take that little extra bit of transparency and openness towards addressing the problems out there as a private company, since there may be a little bit less constraints around that. We believe in transparency. We believe in consensus from ownership in order to establish regulation, which is what we need to know surely that the liability is in order about to do this, that insurances can be held. Licensing is a thing. It's very often a national licensing entity dealing with us, but it might be a multi-state problem we're trying to solve. Those are things we need answers for in order to help us ahead. We're working on that, working groups, technical booklets, charters. With that, I think our participation hunger is big. We just need to be invited, be here in the room. So we're happy to take all the questions that you got.
And thank you, Kees, for the reply. Well, I see we are just over 6 o'clock. Natalia, you have a burning question? Is it short? Okay. Last question to Natalia. Archina, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Natalia Archina, and I work with the Swiss MFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in the delegation to COPUOS. It's not a question, it is a remark, Peter, if you allow me just in 2 seconds, to notice that we've made an effort also from the Swiss side to give the opportunity to clear space to present their project. So in an effort of transparency and confidence building, we invited the company on the Swiss delegation to COPUOS to present their project in so-called technical presentations. And I think it was in 2013 already. And the second time probably in I can't remember exactly, 21 or something. And if I'm not mistaken, the company also presented here at this conference in probably 2013 also. So thank you very much, just as a piece of information. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. Yes, of course, that's one of the issues that is extremely important is we've spoken about transparency and the importance of that in promoting confidence in and trust in the development and use of these technologies. So with that, I'm mindful of the time. We are supposed to be going to a reception soon. I had prepared some closing remarks, observations on the day, but mindful of the fact that I'm the only thing between you and your reception, I know better than to try and deliver closing remarks now. So I will be handing the floor back to Almudena. I think she may have some logistical announcements, but just while I have the microphone, I'd like to use my moderator's prerogative just to remind you and perhaps to inform you if you don't know, Secure World Foundation will be hosting our Summit for Space Sustainability in Paris in October in partnership with CNES and the government of France. We're very excited to be working with our co-hosts. The summit will take place on the 22nd and 23rd of October in Paris, and we would love to welcome as many of you as possible to that summit event. So just wanted to remind you of that. And with that, thank you very much for your attention during the session. Thank you, Kees, for your presentation, and to ClearSpace for your presentation and also the exhibit, which I encourage you all to come and inspect up close tomorrow. So with that, back to you.